Older people tend to be a little wiser, mainly because they have experienced a little bit more. However, when do we know if we actually have a little bit of an upper hand? My name is Tarab. I make videos about emotional intelligence every day. And the idea today is listen, get the mentors in your life, but make sure that they are actually where you want to be. So, by virtue of someone being older does not necessarily mean that they have the information you need. Most of the time, the real thing that you're looking for is a philosophy. Understanding why someone does something is more important than necessarily just raw factual knowledge. The reason is because the why can actually serve us a lot better in a lot more circumstances. So whenever I look for a mentor or someone to pick their brain and really understand what the ins and outs of what I need to accomplish through them are, I try to make sure that I actually agree with that person in a human sense more than just their achievements, because achievements really are just a superficial extraction of how we feel inside. So a lot of the time, how are we doing? A lot of the time when I find someone is older, someone is perhaps looking more experienced than me, perhaps more settled than me, it's not necessarily because they have lived a more efficient life, but it might just be a prospect of their age as to whether or not they have actually achieved something of value. So I'm here in LA. I went to Mr. Tai Lopez's mansion party. I'm gonna take a little seat here. I've been walking around a little while, just checked out a little while ago from my hotel, and I decided to go to an art museum, but making videos is always a fun time to me, so here I am. And when it comes down, and the reason that I'm actually talking about older people in my life is because I have spent a lot of time with people that are 50 plus, to the point where many of them consider me actually a friend more than perhaps a mentee or a little kid. At least that's the conception that I get from spending time with them and actually having these conversations. And you know, I think when we're first starting off and we're trying to get some advice about life, it's really smart to go to older people because they'll have a more rounded perspective. They'll have some more data, some more time that can be accumulated in the conclusions that they've gotten to. However, when we do that more and more, when I've done it more and more, I've gotten to a point where I realize a lot of people kind of stop thinking around the age of 35. Really, they don't, grow as individuals. They're not necessarily creating all the opportunities that they perhaps wanted in life. And the reality of the situation is, if they have spent the last 30 years of their life not necessarily building, then they might not be all that useful because their philosophy was broken to begin with. And I say this as a very, hopefully a humble leader slash someone that knows that I can learn a lot and that I have the capacity to continue to learn consistently in my life. That if you're looking for those mentors, age is not necessarily the only factor you should be looking for. The philosophies of the people are very, very important. And the philosophies of the people, as far as I can gather, are going to be most visible when we are looking at the people that they spend time with. And we're looking at not only what they've accomplished, but how they've accomplished it. So, for instance, if they built a team, what is the culture of the team? If they built a company, what is the impact of the company? What is the actual revenue that it generates? If they're building a family, do they spend very much time with their children? Do we perhaps, when we're older, spend the energy to perhaps give them the tools to become as successful as us, if not more successful? I remember talking to Zach, my business partner in ZDT Entertainment Studios, about how he went to Grant Cardone's event, and one of the older guys there basically said to him, "Oh my goodness, you don't know me? Like, what's going on? You should have your stuff straight before you go and interview someone." And to me, I think that's just that's probably years and years in the making of not really expanding the philosophy and not realizing that we're not the center of the universe. And this channel is fairly small right now, and it's probably going to continue to stay small until it's not. And even when it does get to that size, I'm never going to go down the philosophy that everyone is expected to know me. The reason being, I have tremendous amounts of humility in life. I want to make sure personally that I can treat every single human being with genuine kindness and a genuine ear to listen to. The other thing about age, which I'm beginning to gather, is by virtue of actually accomplishing some major things, when we don't set those goals, those long-term goals in life, meaning like things that we potentially won't be able to accomplish, that makes the journey more the mission than the actual accomplishment. We can get to those goals, we can hit those goals, and then by virtue of not planning ahead and not planning the journey itself, we've kind of lost sight of the fun part of life, the real explorative part of life, the adventure, I guess the responsibility that we're willing to take on. And I think a lot of people in 50 plus in particular, when we go and try to get advice from these people, the first 30 seconds you can really just tell whether or not someone's going to be spending time to actually care about you, or if they're spending time with you to perhaps satisfy a part of their ego. So just be careful. If you're under the age of 30 and you think that every older person is wiser, that's not necessarily the case. I would in fact stick with, personally, friends that are a couple years older than me. There's a philosophy, there's a form of education philosophy that basically talks about how experts have a really hard time explaining to novices how to get started in a process. And that's kind of where those intermediary learners come in. People like me, that I'm on this journey and I'm trying to explain some of the little things that I've gone through. It might be a little bit easier for me to explain the little steps than it would be for someone that's been in this for 20, 30 years, mainly because they're kind of out of touch, right? The very beginnings, the emotions that come with it, the necessary sacrifices, they're not as present, they're not as clear. And actually Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot, where a lot of these older guys will be like, oh, you just got to chill and have a really nice emotional balance and all of this stuff. But the point that they are at their life in terms of success, if they were like that the entire time, chances are they would not be nearly where they are now. So, every little echelon, every little aspect of our growth will require a different type of philosophy, a different conception of the world. And so choosing mentors that are closer to our age group sometimes is a little bit easier to get the information from. Now, that's not to say that if you come across someone older that looks more experienced or perhaps is in your industry, that you shouldn't go and try to get some advice from them. In fact, my recommendations for it is always stay humble. Always use, sir or ma'am. I think a lot of people, especially old school thinkers, older people in general, are looking for just respect, based on the things that they've gone through in life. And when we show someone that right off the bat, then that humility will come through in a way that they will actually want to convey more information to us and not be on edge as much in terms of judging us. So that combined with actually having the ear and actually spending the time to listen, what I've realized is a lot of older people in general, people 60 plus, they talk a little bit slower and they want to have an ear to listen to them. I think as this life moves on, as our kids grow up and we don't have a chance to really give them all the details, and we get a lot of backlash really from children because they perhaps think that they know more than us. Having an ear to listen is always more powerful than a mouth to talk. And doing that for someone else really gives the blessing to us. It gives us the grounds to actually stage better questions or perhaps interactions that might be beneficial, or actually just reach out and ask and hey, just be like, hey, you know, this is something I'm trying to do. Would you happen to know anyone that might be of use to me? So that's my thoughts on getting some advice from people that are 60 plus or 50 plus. Got to be careful. You gotta make sure that the philosophies are the right ones for you. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. If you made it to the end of this video, smash that thumbs up button. It's gonna help a lot. And look forward to the other videos coming out. I'll take care. Peace.